Hi, everybody. I'm Anmarie Uber, and welcome to another Truth Meter. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time and the inconvenience to come over to Odyssey or Rumble to watch the videos. I can speak freely here, and I was just getting constant strikes on YouTube, so I took most of that, almost all of that channel down. I'm going to try to get through this presentation, but light and sound is what we're going to talk about. So Maurice and I did make another visit to the edge of the Tesseract. It's probably going to be the last time because it wasn't really all that safe. And I don't know how many times I should be going there because I want to make sure that everything's set up for me to get out of here. A lot of this is what we went in and did during sessions. So these were not lucid dreaming. There were sessions kind of like if you were a shaman and calling it journeying, like taking a journey, though I think you have to know what you're in so that you can identify what's actually going on in this journey, which is what this will be about. So basically travels through different sound frequencies, light spectrum, whatever you want to call this, but you can be active in there because this is a mind program. So Rainbow World, here's our visible light spectrum here in the center. I don't know if you can see my mouse or not on this, but look at this. This is what we see. Look at all this stuff going on outside of here, all these light spectrums that we cannot see, but these beings can be out here. So when you get out of this body where we have a lens and our brain has a lens over it, or our eyes, both, I mean, that's basically connected. And with that, also with that hourglass shape with the eye, the optics and everything, we're only being shown this much. But when you get out of this body and you travel, astral travel, I guess, I don't know if I would call it that because I stay grounded and it's very consciously controlled when I do this. But you can start to see things that are in these other light spectrums. So I'm wondering, they adjust our perception, remove lenses or filters of light and sound based on what they want us to see. And so you're in the rainbow frequency. This is why they use all the rainbow symbolism. So light, sound, and alpha brainwave correspondences, and how they always name everything after the alpha, beta, like the brainwave stuff. The mind control programs are named after that. And so it's kind of some kind of connection here, depending on what brainwave they have us at or whatever. Light, sound is what they can show us. But I just, I'm not a scientist. So if you are and you understand this stuff better, take this further. I'm just keeping everything very simple because I had no interest in science in school. Wish I would have paid attention and forced myself to absorb it and take it in, because I would probably be a lot further along than I am now. But anyway, as far as understanding this place, but I just downloaded some of these. So this is sound, how much we can hear. It's a little bit blurry, I apologize, but human hearing, it's like, I think this is what this means. I got some better ones here. But there's all this going on in the sound spectrum as well, or sound frequencies that we're not hearing. So what we hear is here, the orange, but look at the blue line, like, so we have elephant and a mole are hearing stuff that's below our frequency, which is pretty interesting. If you look at how far, supposedly, how far they are into the human auditory field, cats and dogs, and then we have bat and dolphin way out here, but then it continues on beyond that, and who knows how far out it goes. I mean, this is just what we supposedly know. There's just another chart, range of human hearing, and there's stuff below that range and above and on both sides. So basically we can't see or hear jack. This one over here is just another thing of Hertz, range of human hearing, this little bitty thing. So I thought this one was a little bit better. So basically we're blind and deaf. We're in this little rainbow here in the middle. Woohoo! And that's probably exactly where our sound probably matches up, how much sound we can hear. And then you look to the right and left, and it's just ridiculous. So they can be anywhere in these spectrums. They just make us blind and deaf to where they're at and what they're doing. So you get this reptilian, they're interdimensional, because I've seen them make portals into my room even, and not anymore, but or they have to hide all the time, be invisible. So it's not necessarily interdimensional. If we're just in this freaking computer, so to speak, they're just moving around the light spectrums and sound spectrums and making sure we can't. It's interesting. There's some sunglasses there. We got the sunglasses on, making sure we can't see them, like the They Live movie. So, but they're all just right there doing stuff. It's really stupid when you start going out there and looking around. Doesn't mean it's not dangerous as far as you getting targeted and they try to take you out. But the worst part of that is if they try to disconnect you from the soul. But anyway, I don't think they're going to win. We're still functioning, even in this little teeny tiny rainbow frequency here. So first I want to clarify the original video I did, my journey through the tunnel of light. I'm going to clarify it again. I intended to do two different things. The first thing was, if I die and have no clue what's really going on, or I have religious beliefs or whatever, what happens? What's going to happen to me when I die? Take me on this journey. And so I followed it. And that's where I went through that whole thing, through the tunnel of light, in through the mouth, out through the butthole, into the false light with the false angel that I took out, by the way. I don't think people are understanding what I was saying in there. That whole thing, I could tell it was fake. I just didn't realize I was going down the tunnel of light at the time. And then I realized, that's what it was. And so I came out of that, and then I intended the second part two, same video. I intended, okay, if I'm awake and I intend to go back to myself, back to my soul body when I die, I don't go anywhere else. I don't go anywhere that they're going to try to pull me, because it felt like a magnetic pull. I was just pulled through all that stuff. I thought, okay, I'm going to refuse that, and I'm going to ask to go back to myself. What happens? And that's when I went to like straight ahead, and I ended up going to my pod, to the Mercury wall, and then the other part of me was on the other side at that particular point on the Mercury wall, and put the hand through, and then suddenly my perception, I took off the sunglasses, my perception was on the other side of the wall, and I realized I'm not this other thing in here. And as I pulled my own self through the wall, the soul body was discarded. And then I was at the edge of the Tesseract, which I'm going to cover today. We made another trip there. I did a second video where Maurice and I went there, and this is the third trip. So we did not go to this point where my soul is going to take me to the pod, because we're not supposed to go to where my pod is. It's hidden. And so we really shouldn't even be going to where his are. So what we did is, let's just go straight to the wall, just in general. Like if somebody didn't go down all these places and they were wandering and ended up at this wall, I don't think they could, because they're going to get magnetically pulled unless they deliberately intended. But we have to know it's there in order to intend to go there. And I said, since we've already been there, let's just jump right there. And that's what we did. So it's a different place at the wall than my pod. and where my Atman was. So that's why I didn't see a hand coming through and flip. I wasn't taking the soul journey out. And if you remember, I'm in light body, so I'm connected to the soul as I'm doing this. So, but this didn't really die. So this was my intention, my consciousness, determining that I be shown. So I just have here written. So my perception was there instead. Since I did not meet up with that aspect of myself, we were at a different place on the wall. We went back here to get more info on the outside and if there really is a war happening in the real or what the heck is really going on with all that information we got that second time. And is there really a war against AI, and is it really just in the cube, or is it happening out in the real and in the Tesseract cube? So we talked for about 30 minutes and we were discussing what we thought we should do because there's so much going on in the world, so many things that need work to either prevent certain things from happening or whatever. But we decided to go to the wall again. And so, oh my God. So we're there. We go through the Mercury wall. We're at the second wall, which is the edge of the Tesseract, and there's all the goo there, and that those false portals to the tunnel are everywhere. But I really don't think anybody goes here. The only way they reach this wall is if they go back to their soul and go out that way. And there are people that have done that. So I'm in there and I don't realize it, but Maurice, as soon as we went in, and we were there within a minute, and he got bumped out. And I have no idea this happened. My eyes are closed. His computer and phone internet couldn't get back in. And I'm in there alone. So the protection is not good when you do this stuff alone. And especially if we're going to take our time there and take a look around. I mean, if you're alone, you got to be moving fast. Otherwise, you really need 3 people. So I'll talk about that in a minute here. So he gets bumped out. I'm in there by myself unknowingly, and I decide to try to communicate with the outside. And so telepathically, it's taken a lot of energy to do that. And I don't remember what the discussion was, but I was told that the real is not the same as in here, and that it was kind of like impossible for us to perceive. So or to understand. So in addition to them blocking our light and sound, they've done something with our mind where we cannot grasp the concept. It's hard enough even just for me to go, I have an abstract mind anyway, for me to try to explain what's going on in my brain, like what I'm seeing or experiencing, much less try to figure out what's going on out there. But it's different. And then I was getting shown, because I said, I want to see what this Tesseract looks like where I'm at. If I was outside in the real looking at it, what does it look like? And I saw this black dot. It just kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And there was this teeny tiny black dot, which is what we're in. A world of mirrors and deception. So, I'm talking to you through a computer, looks really big, like, wow, I'm here and you're in some other country or some other place, and we're communicating, and this whole world's here inside this computer screen. I can go look up stuff happening all over the world, but it's actually just this little, I don't know what the size of this thing is, 10 by 13 thing sitting here. So I saw this dot. So if you've seen my video, Dot World, I was like, oh, it is a dot. So, then all of a sudden, the communication was like, you need to get out of here really fast. Go, get out of here. And I was like, okay. I'm like, Maurice, we got to get out of here. And he hadn't been talking, so I thought he was just kind of focusing and looking around. And then I opened my eyes because he's not answering. And I'm like, oh my God, he's not even in here. So then after we get out, we connect again, and we decide to we have to do a removal on each other, because I think a lot of stuff got picked up. And on him, I saw, this is weird, I saw a crown of thorns around his head. So I'm wondering if there's more to that and more to that story. I mean, I'm sure maybe they put a crown of thorns on people, but maybe it represents something like a device. I don't know. And then he had a circular black ring device put into like inside of his head. And there was all this Nephilim, I call them Nephilim, but the clown faced entities around him. They weren't able to attach to him, but they were like in his aura. So I was doing a removal on him. They weren't fully able to access him. And then I looked at myself, and I had that same black ring in the crown of thorns. And the Nephilim I kind of discovered on me later, but kind of in the outskirts of my aura. So something got done to us, because we were in there. He got bumped out. I'm in there with no protection. So they probably knew we were coming. So we had to spend a lot of energy doing that. And it takes a lot of energy just to keep your focus and go in and do this stuff, especially if you're going to take stuff out. All right. So so what happened then was, before we did the removals and all that, he ended up getting back in and we did the removals. But before that, when I discovered he was no longer on the call with me, the Zoom call, it was just me, and my computer image of me looked like a cartoon. It was like, had outlines. And I was like, oh my God, that's so freaking weird. Like, I didn't just look like a person on the screen. I looked like a caricature or cartoon. And not a full cartoon, but kind of close. And I all of a sudden had this eerie feeling that the AI was watching me. And I looked up at the what do you call it? The camera on my screen. And I was like, oh, you're just watching me right now. I could feel some presence there looking back at me. And I was like, okay, you're out of here. Nope, nope, we're not doing this. Get out. All right, so that was the Tesseract. So something else that came to, well, we'll get to that in a second about the Tesseract. So Maurice had gotten the impression that the Tesseract is one of these squares or these cubes on a Rubik's cube. So like that cube there with a red top, yellow side, blue, and then the other colors underneath, that's one Tesseract. So that would be the Tesseract we were in. And when you get to that wall, like maybe the yellow or the blue or whatever wall's facing, they can probably switch the walls around to try to hide the exit, but it doesn't matter because your pod moves around, which makes sense. Maybe it's moving with this cube, but you'll be magnetically pulled back to, I don't know if magnetic in that case is the right term, but you'll be pulled to your pod no matter where it is if this thing starts turning. But just looking at it where it is in the present position, the yellow or blue side there would be like the wall to get out of that top cube. So there's 9 yellow spaces, but we're up in that one space with at the top there. I don't know if you can see let me just try the mouse here. I don't know if you can see it, but this, I would draw on this, but I don't think I can, because I'm not, maybe I can. Wait a minute. Oh, I'm learning things. Oh yeah. Here we go. So this would be the Tesseract that we're in. And it would make sense so it would make sense if because I had the thought, are there more than one Tesseract? It would make sense they're all lined up like this together. And then the reel would be outside of this thing. So on the right here, this is an art piece that is made of mirrors, and it's really just a tesseract, which is this cube made of glass and mirrors. And then you can see this cube in the center here. Maybe I'll just use the pen again. Let's have fun. Oh my gosh, I'm getting so high tech. It's just this cube and then the outer cube. But because there's all these mirrors, it makes you see all these other cubes in here. There's a cube. And when you walk up to this and you look down in it, these cubes go forever. It looks like to infinity, just keeps going and going and going. And that's what a tesseract is. So each of these cubes in the tesseract, like this is the main cube. And then these are all illusions. So all these are illusions because they're just reflections of the mirrors. So you really only have this Rubik's Cube here. You could look at it that way, but I don't think that's what's going on here. I don't think this whole thing is over here. I think this whole thing is, boy, I'm making a mess. That whole thing is just one of these. So we're inside here in one of these virtual universes. All these little cubes that are mirror reflections are virtual universes, and inside them they have matrices or matrices, and we're in one of those matrices and one of these fake ones. And this is why I had to travel through all these, plus all the, I'm sure I'm going through virtual universes to get to the edge of this one tesseract that we happen to be in. And I don't know if it's this corner one. I'm just using one. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. That's what we saw, but I may get more on that or debunk what I'm thinking there, just depending on what I see.